We live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
U.S. top diplomat Mike Pompeo holds urgent talks with Saudi King Salman, seeking answers about the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
President Donald Trump meets with victims of Hurricane Michael in devastated areas of Florida and Georgia, but again casts doubt on the scientific consensus that climate change is caused by human activity.
And our EBC Bureau in Germany shows us the easiest way to travel in Frankfurt. Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world, thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. All right, first in the Philippines, former Interior Secretary and presidential candidate Mar Roxas led early birds in the filing of certificates of candidacy at the Commission on Elections. Roxas, who is running under the Liberal Party banner, said he's running again because he knows he can do something to help the country and the people.
Ninais ko maging Pangulo dahil may mga nasa isip akong mga lutas o solusyon sa mga problema ng bansa. Hindi ito nangyari. Natalo ako at tanggap ko yun. No? Ganyan talagang buhay. So, in that respect, tapos na yung chapter na yun sa buhay ko. But this campaign is not about 2016. This is not 2016 redux or uulitin. This campaign is about today. Is about our future.
He challenged those who questioned or who blamed him for the previous administration's shortcomings, like its slow response to Typhoon Haiyan in 2013.
Makikita na walang connection si Mar Roxas dyan. No? Ngayon, yan ang facts, yan ang totoo.
Meanwhile, Representative Pia Cayetano, Taguig City 2nd District, is running again for the Senate seat anew. For the Senate seat, as she filed her certificate of candidacy for senator before the COMELEC, but she refused to comment on President Duterte's playful act of kissing a married Filipina in South Korea months ago. Take a look.
Like I said, he can defend himself. I am not his spokesperson. Look at my track record. I will continue to fight for women, for children, for healthcare, and for education. Thank you.
Meanwhile, Ilocos Norte Governor Maria Josefa Imelda, or Aimee Marcos for short, vowed to represent people from the provinces. She also filed her COC for senator on Tuesday. Marcos served as representative of the 2nd District of Ilocos Norte for 3 consecutive terms from 1998 to 2007. She was elected Ilocos Norte governor thrice in 2010, 2013, and 2016. She also said she's unfazed by the negative impression of many Filipinos of her family.
I think that the new generation, particularly the millennial generation so-called, are ready to hear our side of the story. Bakit kami mag-a-admit sa hindi namin ginawa?
At least 3 people have been killed and 33 injured by flash flooding in Yemen and neighboring Oman caused by tropical storm Luban, the UN and local authorities have said. Bara province in the far east of Yemen and the neighboring Dhofar region of Oman are the only parts of the Arabian Peninsula that have a monsoon climate governed by the tropical weather systems of the Indian Ocean. Most of the Luban's casualties were reported in coastal districts of Bara, where 2 people were killed and 33 injured by widespread flooding, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, or UNOCHA, said. In Oman, the civil defense said one man was found dead in Dofan. Mara Governor Raja Bakri said the province had been devastated by the storm. UNOCA said more than 2,000 families had been significantly affected by the flooding in Mara, with many finding emergency shelter and displaced to public buildings. It warned there were expected to be more casualties and homes washed away in areas that had yet to be reached by emergency teams. In May, Cyclone Mekunu smashed into southern Oman and the Yemeni island of Socotra, killing at least 11 people.
To other news now, U.S. top diplomat Mike Pompeo was in Saudi Arabia for urgent talks with King Salman, seeking answers about the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Amid U.S. media reports, the kingdom may be mulling an admission he died during a botched interrogation. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump said after a telephone talk with the king, Trump dispatched Pompeo to Riyadh for what the State Department described to face-to-face meetings with the Saudi leadership. Turkish police on Monday searched the consulate for the first time since Khashoggi, a Saudi national and U.S. resident who became increasingly critical of powerful Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, went missing. But U.S. media reported on Monday that the kingdom is considering an admission that Khashoggi died after an interrogation that went wrong during an intended abduction. Trump's comments came after a telephone conversation with King Salman, father of the Crown Prince, the first such talk since the crisis erupted.
I just spoke with the King of Saudi Arabia, who denies any knowledge of what took place with regard to, as he said, his Saudi Arabian citizen. Tell you that his denial to me is just one very, relatively fast phone call, probably lasted 20 minutes. His denial to me could not have been stronger, that he had no knowledge, and it sounded like he, and also the Crown Prince, had no knowledge.
Now, Riyadh's most recent comments have focused on having no knowledge of any killing or denying any order to kill Khashoggi had been given.
We are going to leave nothing uncovered. With that being said, the king firmly denied any knowledge of it. He didn't really know. Maybe, I don't want to get into his mind, but it sounded to me like maybe these could have been rogue killers. Who knows?
But CNN cited two sources as saying the Saudis are preparing a report that his death resulted from a botched interrogation, while the Wall Street Journal said the kingdom was weighing whether to say that rogue operatives killed Khashoggi by mistake. The controversy has troubled Saudi's traditional Western allies, who are key arms suppliers to the kingdom, and also undermined efforts by Mohammed bin Salman to present himself as a modernizing ruler. An investment conference seen as a platform for the Crown Prince and dubbed the Davos in the Desert, which was scheduled to take place in Riyadh next week, has been hit by a string of prominent cancellations. J. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, Ford Chairman Bill Ford, and Larry Fink, the head of investment giant BlackRock, were among the latest business barons to cancel plans to attend.
U.S. media say Saudi Arabia is preparing to concede that a missing journalist was mistakenly killed at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. The reports come as Turkish investigators enter the consulate on Monday night to search for evidence on the fate of Jamal Khashoggi. CNN and the Wall Street Journal have reported that Saudi officials are preparing to say that Khashoggi died at the consulate during an interrogation that went wrong. Both media quoted sources familiar with the matter. The Saudi Arabian government has not commented on the reports. President Trump is in Florida assessing the damage following Hurricane Michael, talking with people affected by the storm distributing water and meeting search and rescue teams involved in relief efforts. The President and First Lady are touring Lean Haven near Panama City with Governor Rick Scott and FEMA Administrator Brock Long.
To see this personally, it's very tough, very, very tough. Total devastation. Just silent. I just want to say the governor of Florida, Rick Scott, has done an unbelievable job. Everybody, we're meeting hundreds of people along with you, and they're all talking about the great job the governor's doing and everybody is doing together today. So, Rick, I want to thank you. How are you? You have one? Take it. Take care.
All right, so in the wake of the Category 4 hurricane that decimated so much of the Florida Panhandle, President Trump was asked whether he is now on climate change. Does he, or having seen all of these hurricanes that appear to be increasing in intensity, does he believe climate change is still a hoax, as he once said? And here's his response.
There's something there. There's no question. There is something there, man-made or not. I mean, there's something there, and it's going to go, and it's going to go back and forth, but there is something there. But again, 50 years ago it was brutal. 1890s were brutal. You have different times.
To see this,
as you heard there, he noted that there had been violent hurricanes causing widespread destruction in the past. Trump in the past has dismissed claims backed by an overwhelming international consensus of scientists that greenhouse gases caused by human activity are responsible for a rapidly warming planet, triggering ever more extreme weather.
Southwest France is coping with the aftermath of some of the deadliest flooding in years. The equivalent of 3 months' rainfall was dumped overnight in the region of Carcassonne in just a few hours, sending rivers over their banks, including the Audi, which reached levels not seen in 100 years. At least 11 people died when violent rainstorms turned rivers into raging torrents in southwest France on Monday, prompting some of the deadliest flooding in years, officials said. The equivalent of 3 months' rainfall was dumped overnight in the region of Carcassonne in just a few hours, sending rivers over their banks, including the Audi, which reached levels not seen in 100 years. President Emmanuelle Macron, whose office said he will soon visit the affected areas, offered the sympathy and solidarity of the entire nation for the victims of the Audi flooding and their families. More news will be coming our way when Eagle News International returns.
Stay tuned, we'll be back. One job should be enough. That has been the campaign and battle cry for nearly 3,000 hotel workers in Waikiki and Maui, which have been among Hawaii's top tourist destinations. Now, 1 week has passed since negotiations have failed between their labor union and management. Ron Hamilton, our ABC Hawaii correspondent, files this developing story. Ron?
It has now been one whole week since thousands of hotel workers in Waikiki began protesting against their managers over alleged lack of pay and benefits. So far, there is no resolution in sight. Contract negotiations broke down between Union Local 5 and Kyoya, a Japanese-based company that owns 5 hotels, namely the Sheraton Waikiki, the Royal Hawaiian, the Moana Surfrider, Sheraton Princess Kailani, and the Sheraton Maui, some of which are currently ranked in the top 10 in Hawaii according to some websites. More than 2,700 hotel workers started their strike in the early morning of October 8th. Some staged themselves along Waikiki's Kalakaua Avenue to be seen and heard by visitors and residents, even to the point of creating disruption. Other protest groups gathered at more iconic locations, such as the beaches of Waikiki and the Moana Surfrider. Notice a limousine and several vehicles trying to get into the hotel's driveway. Many of the protesters happen to be Filipinos, such as union member Gemma Weinstein, who took the time to air out her frustrations in this interview.
Well, it's very important to have job security for the workers, right?
Okay,
and living in Hawaii is so expensive. Napakamahal dito sa Hawaii. At yung sweldo nila ngayon, it's not enough. At tapos ang trabaho nila, they working like 2 people doing job before. Now it's only 1 doing 2 job. And ang goal namin dito is to have 1 job should be enough to live dito sa Hawaii, even it's so expensive.
According to the union's website, support has poured in from other groups such as the sheet metal workers, airline employees, and teachers unions. U.S. Senator Mazie Hirono even posted a tweet calling out corporate leaders to come to the negotiating table to ensure 1 job is enough for those working in Hawaii. Local 5 is part of the Unite Here union. This past week, Unite Here went on strike against Marriott-managed hotels employing 7,000 union workers in 7 cities: Boston, Detroit, San Diego, San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose. The state and local governments have yet to weigh in on this ongoing problem, which might have a negative effect on the upcoming holiday season. Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, this is Ron Hamilton for Eagle News. I am 1 with 25.
Riot police rushed to the scene of clashes at a strike-hit Myanmar garment factory on Monday after protesting workers say dozens were injured when they were attacked by a mob of hired thugs. The predominantly female workers started picketing the Chinese-owned Fu Yen Garment Corporation Limited factory in Yangon nearly 2 months ago over alleged poor conditions and mistreatment. While most of the protesters' complaints had been resolved, the factory owners refused to rehire the 30 workers who initially instigated the strike, prompting more anger from the workers who continued to camp outside the factory gates in protest. Workers say they set up a union 2 years ago to fight for their rights after enduring abuse from managers, limited toilet breaks, and unbearably hot working conditions. Myanmar's garment industry exports exceeded $2 billion last year, with the European Union as the sector's fastest growing and largest export market.
All right, meanwhile, China issues an ardent defense of its internment of minorities in far west Xinjiang region amid a global outcry, with a regional official insisting that authorities are preventing terrorism through vocational education centers. Up to 1 million ethnic Uyghurs and other mostly Muslim Turkic minorities are believed to be held in such centers, according to estimates cited by a UN panel. Former inmates have said they found themselves incarcerated for transgressions such as wearing long beards and face veils or sharing Islamic holiday greetings on social media, a process that echoes the decades of brutal thought reform under Mao Zedong. Chinese authorities initially denied the existence of the facilities, but they've changed their tune as satellite imagery and documents issued by their own government have made it increasingly difficult to maintain that position. In a rare interview with China's official Xinhua News Service published Tuesday, the chairman of Xinjiang's government, Shorat Zakir, defended the use of the centers, saying that the region was now safe and stable. The official didn't say how many people were being held in the centers. Zakir said the facilities were intended to improve job skills and Mandarin abilities among minorities with a limited command of the country's common language and a limited sense and knowledge of the law. Despite growing alarm from the U.S. and the United Nations, which estimates that around 1 million Uyghurs, Kazakhs, and other minorities have been arbitrarily detained, China has maintained that Xinjiang's vast dragnet of police surveillance is necessary for countering latent extremism and preserving stability.
The Philippine Navy will hold a send-off ceremony on Wednesday for logistics support vessel BRP Dagupan City and the 300-man contingent who will be participating in the first ever maritime exercise between the People's Republic of China and ASEAN member states on October 21 to 28 in Xinjiang. Navy spokesperson Commander Jonathan Zata said the send-off event will be a 7:30 a.m. at Captain Salvo Pierre Naval Base, Cavite City. The exercise, dubbed as ASEAN China Maritime Exercise or ACMEX 2018, will be hosted by the Republic of Singapore Navy and China's People Liberation Army or PLA Navy. It aims to provide military exchanges between ASEAN member states' navies and their Chinese counterpart, focusing on maritime safety, search and rescue at sea, with emphasis on the use of code of unplanned encounters at sea.
Facing a domestic backlash and the threat of foreign trade retaliation, Australia's Prime Minister appeared to slow-pedal a controversial decision to move the country's embassy to Jerusalem, saying he would first consult with allies. As Scott Morrison stood accused of ditching 70 years of Australian foreign policy, and reports emerged that Indonesia may suspend a planned bilateral trade deal, the Prime Minister told Parliament no firm decision had been taken. Hours after first floating the idea, Morrison said he would canvass views from regional leaders about the decision to follow U.S. President Donald Trump's lead and move the embassy from Tel Aviv before the government forms a particular view on this issue. The Prime Minister said one future scenario could involve Australia recognizing a Palestinian Authority capital in East Jerusalem and Israeli capital in West Jerusalem. Australia should be open-minded to this, Mr. Morrison said, but Palestinian representatives said the proposal could damage Australia's international standing. Jerusalem is claimed by both Israelis and Palestinians, and most foreign nations have avoided locating embassies there for fear of prejudging peace talks on the city's final status until President Trump unilaterally moved the U.S. Embassy there earlier this year.
Efforts to contain the spread of deadly Ebola virus in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo are under threat as conflict continues to hamper the progress of aid workers there. According to the World Health Organization, or WHO, there are now 200 cases of the disease in this latest outbreak, and 125 people have died. The epicenter is the town of Beni, which registered 29 new cases of Ebola out of a total of 35 identified in the last week. Violent clashes there have prevented the essential work of tracing all those who have come into contact with Ebola carriers.
The recent spike in violent incidents in Ebola-impacted areas of the Democratic Republic of the Congo is making the response more difficult and increasing the risk of outbreak spreading not only within the DRC but also to neighboring countries, with Rwanda and Uganda being particularly at risk. In recent weeks, armed attacks in and around Beni and North Kivu have severely affected both civilian and frontline workers, forcing the temporary suspension of the response and raising the risk that the virus will continue to spread. The agency reports it continues to work with all 9 neighboring countries to increase their preparedness. As of October 11th, a total of 205 Ebola cases, 170 confirmed and 35 probable, have been reported, and the outbreak resulted in the deaths of some 130 people. On Friday afternoon, the Secretary General's special representative in the DRC, Leila Zerugi, announced to staff that a UN colleague based in Beni had tested positive for Ebola and is now receiving the necessary medical treatment. Medical staff report that the patient is feeling well and the progress is satisfactory. Co-workers who have had contact with him will receive the appropriate support and follow-up. The UN's emergency response operation in Waikiki in Beni was disinfected on October 12th, and some 100 people from MONUSCO and other parts of the UN, as well as NGO partners, were voluntarily vaccinated at the center on the 13th of October, and the vaccinations are continuing. Also want to flag that the Undersecretary...
The two Koreas and the U.S.-led United Nations Command held talks on Tuesday on demilitarizing a section of the heavily fortified border dividing the peninsula as a diplomatic thaw gathers pace. The JSA, also known as the Truce Village of Panmunjom, is the only spot along the tense 250-kilometer frontier where troops from the two countries stand face to face. It was designated neutral zone until the axe murder incident in 1976, when North Korean soldiers attacked a work party trying to chop down a tree inside the DMZ, leaving 2 U.S. Army officers dead. South and North Korea, which are technically still at war, agreed to take measures to ease military tensions on their border at a meeting in Pyongyang last month between President Moon Jae-in and Kim Jong-un.
A Moroccan teenager allegedly kidnapped and gang raped by men from her village called Wednesday on other girls to be brave after meeting with a judge investigating her case, which has shaken the nation. In a video posted online on August 17-year-old Khadija said members of a dangerous gang in her town had abducted and held her prisoner for 2 months, raping and torturing her. Khadija's choice to speak up and publicly accuse her attackers is rare in the conservative country where rape victims often remain silent to preserve family reputations.
بالنسبة للبنات كنصحهم أنهم يكونوا شجاعات، حيث أي حاجة وقعت لهم ما يسكتوش نهائيا. أي حاجة طرات لهم أنهم يهضروا، وكنتمنى هذا الشيء هذا ما يبقاش في المغرب نهائيا، وما يعني البنات ما يوقعش لهم هذا الشيء هذا اللي وقع ليا وما يتعاودش مرة أخرى. ولكن ما زال كنتفكر داك الشيء اللي وقع ليا مازال مأثرة بزاف و يعني هاد الوشام هذا ما كنقدرش نهائيا نشوف كاع فيديا ما كنبغيش نشوف فيها ويوميا كنتفكر داك الشيء اللي وقع ليا.
All right, before we go on a break, Prince Harry and Meghan have made their first public appearance since announcing they're expecting a baby, kicking off a high-profile Pacific trip with a photo in front of Sydney's dazzling Opera House and posing with koalas. Take a look. The news continues here on Eagle News International.
Stay tuned.
Health is our most important.
ng Eagle Broadcasting Corporation sa 32nd PMPC Star Awards for Television 2018 sa pagkilala sa mga natatanging programa at talento ng Net25. Letters and Music, Best Musical Variety Show. Homework, Best Children's Show. Sally Lopez, Best Children's Show Host. Sa aming mga tagapanood, salamat po sa inyong walang sawang pagtangkilik. Ang Eagle Broadcasting Corporation ay mananatili sa hangarin nito na handugan kayo ng mga programang may kabuluhan at inyong kagigiliwan. Muli po, salamat sa PMPC Star Awards sa inyong parangal.
Japan on Monday announced a much-anticipated sales tax hike in 2019 to address the nation's huge public debt, despite the warnings it could hobble growth in the world's third biggest economy. The point-of-sale tax will rise from 8% to 10% from October next year as aging and heavily indebted Japan battles to finance snowballing Social Security bills, especially medical fees. The tax rise was originally planned for October 2015, but was pushed back twice due to fears it could derail the fragile economy. The last such move in April 2014 was blamed for tipping Japan into a brief recession. This time, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe believes he can avoid a sharp decline in consumer spending by introducing measures to cushion the blow. The government will do its best to avoid a negative impact on the economy by taking every possible measure, Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga told reporters. However, Suga added that the planned hike could still be scrapped if there were a potentially historic recession like a global slump triggered by the 2008 collapse of Lehman Brothers. The measures will include plans to leave the sales tax on food unchanged at 8%, Suga said. The government also plans subsidies to offset the impact of the sales tax hike on some durable goods such as houses and environmentally friendly cars. The proceeds from the tax hike will go in part to fund free nursery places to ease the impact on families and encourage Japanese to have more babies as the population continues to shrink at a fast pace.
Billionaire Paul Allen, who founded U.S. software giant Microsoft with Bill Gates in the 1970s, died Monday after his latest battle with cancer. He was 65. Allen died just 2 weeks after publicly revealing that non-Hodgkin's lymphoma he fought into remission 9 years ago had returned. The incurable cancer affects white blood cells. Allen managed his business and charitable endeavors at Vulcan Incorporated. He was also active with the Allen Institutes of Scientific Research and owned the professional U.S. sports team, the Seattle Seahawks and Portland Trail Blazers. He was part owner of the Major League Soccer team, the Seattle Sounders. Forbes estimated his net worth at $20.3 billion.
The head of South Korean flag carrier Korean Air, whose family have been embroiled in multiple scandals, including one involving macadamia nuts, was indicted Monday on charges of embezzling tens of millions of dollars in other offenses. Prosecutors charged Cho Young-ho with embezzling more than 20 billion won, or that's $18 million, and unfairly awarding contracts to companies controlled by his family members, according to Yonhap News Agency. The super wealthy owners of Chaebols, the sprawling conglomerates that dominate the world's 11th largest economy, often attract controversy, but a series of scandals have made the Cho family one of the most notorious in South Korea. Cho is the chairman of Hanjin Group, which includes Korean Air, and used to own the now bankrupt Hanjin shipping line. He was also head of the organizing committee for the 2018 Pyongyang Winter Olympics until stepping down 2 years before the Games. The 69-year-old is also accused of taking 152 billion won from the state insurance agency in medical care benefits by illegally running a pharmacy under a borrowed name. Initially, Cho was accused of evading inheritance tax of around 61 billion won when his father, Hanjin's founder, died in 2002, but prosecutors said the statute of limitations had expired in 2014. The date for Cho's trial was not set, and he was not detained ahead of the proceedings. His two daughters, who held management positions at Korean Air, previously became viral sensations for temper tantrums dubbed the nut rage and water rage scandals, forcing Cho to issue a public apology and remove them from their posts.
All right, in other news, for people living in and around the Jamali Polyp, a squiggle on the map of the Irish frontier. Life without an open border is unimaginable and a reminder of the bad old days of checkpoints. Take a look.
And tarmac. But as Brexit looms, there's talk of installing checks along this 500-kilometre border, and residents here, in an area called the Jamali Polyp, are worried. Known locally as the island, this patch of the Republic extends into the north through a narrow corridor. The winding border cuts through roads, houses and businesses, like this petrol station, which accepts both pounds and euros. For owner Eamon Fitzpatrick, the lack of border controls is key.
There's times I could cross the border maybe 20-25 times a day, depending what roads and that I'm going.
Many locals are frustrated with London and Dublin politicians who they feel have little understanding of their lives.
They don't really know what the border is. They just think it's a road and there's a crossing. Like it's a whole different scenario when you're on the ground.
Those who are old enough recall the Troubles, when armed groups fought the British to try to unite North and South, and the border was militarised. Local Sinn Féin councillor Pat Traynor lost a finger at the height of the tensions. He thinks if Brexit brings back border checks, his party could get a new wave of support for its aim of reuniting Ireland.
Debate around Brexit is bringing a focus back onto that illogical and unnatural lane that they put through our country. Sinn Féin do want to see, and have been working for and are working for, Irish unity and independence. The focus on partition helps that debate.
So, as Brexit negotiations continue, this little corner of Ireland has a very large stake in its outcome. Cross from the Republic of Ireland
The Food and Agriculture Organization is helping farmers in the Philippines be better prepared and assess damages caused by extreme weather events with the use of drones. The Philippines is often struck by extreme weather events. Farmers are worst affected as their crops are destroyed and their livelihoods threatened.
Pagka po may kalamidad na, medyo talagang kabado na kami dahil pag nasira yung aming pananim, diyan lang po nanggagaling yung kabuhayan para doon sa pag-aaral nga ng mga bata, unang-una sa lahat, saka po yung ini-stock namin para pagkain doon sa panahong wala kaming hanap buhay.
FAO Emergency Coordinator in the Philippines, Abet Aduna, said the country faces what is called a cycle of poverty.
If they are not able to plant in the next cropping season, then the next cropping will already be about a year before they can harvest the next cycle. That would mean that for a year they will be food insecure and they have no income to buy other household needs.
FAO said it is providing training on the use of drones to help the Ministry of Agriculture assesses damages caused by extreme weather events. This means reaching farmers faster and helping them more effectively.
With this drone, the work of the staff of DA will be much more easier, because basically this helps a lot. It's like ice in the sky. So what the staff cannot see on the ground, the drone can see up above.
FAO said the drones not only quickly assess damages when disaster strikes, but also assess pest outbreaks. Fixed-wing drones can cover up to 200 hectares in 30 minutes, while a person can cover only 7 hectares per day. The drones also capture both RBG and near-infrared images, which could show the vegetation health of crops and pest infestation levels.
So sa crop health, pag nagpalipad kami ng drone, nakita namin na may problema yung crop health, na-advise namin yung farmer na gumawa ng certain things para maging healthy yung crop nila. And at the same time, sa Sa calamity naman, nakaka-advise kami sa kanila in advance kung kinakailangan nilang i-harvest earlier than expected yung kanilang crop para they can save the crop bago pa dumating yung calamity or yung typhoon.
FAO said it also uses satellites to monitor incoming typhoons and inform farmers on best practices to avoid the loss of their crops. FAO said satellite images also help in longer-term monitoring of potential crop yields.
Traveling around Seoul on the subway, you'll often see advertisements featuring fan messages to K-pop idols. Now, K-pop has emerged as an unlikely source of income for Seoul Metro, which is losing billions each year despite accommodating millions of passengers on a daily basis. Angeli Fuentes, our EBC correspondent from South Korea, reports.
Korea is already famous for its widespread fame of music and dramas. But in recent months, Seoul Metro system is garnering attention not only for its convenient transportation, but for its advertising. When traveling on Seoul subway, you will often see enormous advertisements featuring messages from fans to K-pop idols. Places like Hongdae Station has the most K-pop inspired ads than any other station in Seoul. These ads are typically placed by fans to celebrate idols' birthday or anniversaries. Busy passengers can stop to take pictures or admire these ads as they pass through the stations. In 2014, Seoul subway system had a mere 76 K-pop themed ads, but a sharp increase through the years have shown that as of September 2018, the figure has reached 1,576 ads on display. It has now become a tradition amongst K-pop fans to raise funds and show support to their idols through these ads. This trend has even reached overseas, where a group of Chinese fans placed an ad on Times Square billboard, celebrating the 7th anniversary of actor Park Seo-joon's debut. Placing an advertisement on the Stock Exchange building in New York costed an estimate $30,000 to show a 15-second ad every hour for 1 week. In Seoul, depending on the location of the ad, it can cost anywhere from 1.5 million to 4.5 million won, which in dollars is roughly $1,300 to $4,000. Due to the increase of subway ads, new laws have been placed in order to control what can be posted. It was announced in 2017 that the Seoul Metro plans on removing all plastic surgery ads by 2022, as it faced much criticism for promoting narrow beauty standards. Not only beauty ads, but also political ads face stricter rules in order to maintain political neutrality. When in Seoul, take the chance to view some of these K-pop ads for yourself.
I'm Angeli Fuentes, EBC correspondent of South Korea, and I'm 1 with 25.
A Boston auction house is offering what it says is the biggest chunk of moon rock ever put up for auction. It's a rare lunar meteorite that was discovered in northwest Africa. The 12-pound lunar meteorite is made of up of 6 fragments that can be pieced together like a jigsaw. The hefty chunk of rock, unofficially known as the moon puzzle due to its unique shape, was found last year in the Sahara Desert. Some pieces of moon rock have made their way back to Earth in the care of Apollo astronauts. The rest were blasted off the moon's surface by meteorite impacts, typically hundreds of thousands of years ago, blazing through Earth's atmosphere as a shooting star.
Eagle News International will be right back.
Stay tuned.
MTRCV ang mag-provide na appropriate ratings sa lahat ng TV shows. Para ugaliin ng pamilya ang responsableng panonood. Teamwork tayo, parents!
Rated G, good for all. Oops, rated PG. Dapat may mga magulang para sagutin ang mga tanong ng kabataan.
Sabi, rated SPG, maselan!
Higpitan ang paggabay.
Pag rated MTRCB, rated responsable.
All right, we're not going to showbiz news, but instead, let's go to Switzerland, where you can find the world's Cabrio, which is the open-top cable car, the first in the world. Cheryl Esmas reports.
Hi, and welcome to Luzerne. To get to the mountain behind me, we will ride the world's first Cabrio cable car. Stanzerhorn is a mountain located right next to the village Stanz, which is close to the city Luzerne. The Stanzerhorn has one of the oldest railways in Switzerland. The first section to get to the top of the 1,900 meter tall mountain is on a very old funicular train. This old-timer funicular train was first opened in 1893. The railway consisted of 3 independent functioning sections, which was unique at that time. It would have taken around 45 minutes to reach the top of the mountain. Since 1975, the old-timer funicular train has only been operating on the first section, while the latter sections were replaced by an aerial car. Then in 2012, a concept arose to create a 360 panoramic view while riding the cable car. This was fulfilled by making the upper deck roofless and accessible to about 30 passengers. This concept led to the world's first cabriolet cable car. Today, a ride to the top takes about 7 minutes. In those 7 minutes, don't forget to take out your cameras to capture the breathtaking views of the Swiss Alps and lakes around the Stanzerhorn. From beautiful mountain view here on Mount Stanzerhorn, I am Cheryl Esmas and I am 1 with 25.
Even without a car, you can go around Frankfurt easily with different kind of transportations. Jessica Kala reports.
Frankfurt is a metropolis and the largest city here in the state of Hesse. In a city as busy as Frankfurt, it can be quite exhausting to travel by car due to the heavy traffic. Because of this, the most preferred and most efficient way to get around is by means of public transportation. Let's find out how Frankfurters reach their destination around their city. There are 4 different types of public transit: S-Bahn, U-Bahn, tram, and bus. The S-Bahn, short for Stadt or Schnellbahn, is both an underground and an overground rail that covers a larger metropolitan region, taking you to the neighboring cities of Frankfurt. The U-Bahn, on the other hand, is an underground rail system that only runs throughout the whole city of Frankfurt, similar to the route of trams and buses. Out of these 3 means of transportation, the tram is also called Straßenbahn and is usually faster because they travel on their own tracks, independent of other traffic. Quite convenient, isn't it? But traveling with public transportation in an unfamiliar place with lots of options can be confusing at times. No worries, there are great tools that make your travel around the city easier. In every stop, there is a route map, usually indicating the main train stations. Another helpful tool to get around Frankfurt is by using the DB or the RNV mobile application. Here you can simply enter your destination and it will provide you with the information on the fastest and shortest route. Aside from that, you can also check the schedules for delays and even buy your ticket through the app. Most commonly though, you can purchase them at a ticket machine or on the bus. Unlike in other European cities, there are no ticket barriers at the train stations, nor do you need to stamp your ticket before boarding a train. But every now and then, a ticket inspector is on the train. Using the public transportation without a valid ticket can cost you a penalty up to 60 euros. So make sure to buy your ticket beforehand. As you can see, even in a crowded city like Frankfurt, mobility and flexibility, even without a car, is possible. This is definitely not only a great advantage for us locals, but also for all who want to visit and discover Frankfurt. From Frankfurt, Germany reporting, I am Jessica Kalau and I am 1 with 25.
Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards and Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles and
we're 1 with 25.